Commander Lee Taman stood on the bridge of the research station Harmony 7th, watching the massive alien ship approach through the viewport. The vessel was 3 times the size of their station, made of some kind of blue crystal that seemed to glow from within. He had never seen anything so beautiful or terrifying in his life. "Sir, they're sending a communication signal," said Kim So-ra, the communications officer. She was young but skilled, and Taemin trusted her completely. "Put it through," Taemin ordered, straightening his uniform. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for since they first detected the alien signals 6 months ago. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at beings unlike anything they had imagined. The aliens had tall, graceful forms with skin that looked like blue crystal. Their faces were elegant with large eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. The one in the center wore what appeared to be a crown made of the same glowing material as their ship. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the crowned figure spoke. Her voice was melodic, like music made into words. "I am Queen Arya Velthara of the Valerian Empire. We come in peace to meet the young species that has finally reached the stars." Dr. Park Ji-won, the station's xenobiologist, stepped forward. He had studied every piece of data they had about these aliens. "Your Majesty, we are honored by your visit. I am Dr. Park Ji-won, and this is Commander Lee Tae-min. We welcome you on behalf of all humanity." The Queen's crystalline features seemed to soften slightly. "Dr. Park, Commander Lee, your species intrigues us. In all our centuries of travel among the stars, we have rarely encountered beings with such potential." Taemin felt a strange flutter in his chest as the Queen's large, luminous eyes seemed to look directly at him through the screen. There was something about her presence that made him feel both humble and inspired at the same time. "We would be honored to meet face to face," Taemin said, finding his voice. "Our station has a docking bay that can accommodate smaller vessels from your ship." Queen Velthara nodded gracefully. "We accept your invitation, Commander. We will arrive in 1 of your hours." After the transmission ended, the bridge erupted in excited chatter. Dr. Ji-won immediately began preparing his equipment to study the alien visitors, while So-ra worked on setting up translation protocols in case their universal translators failed. Taemin found himself staring at the alien mothership, thinking about the Queen's voice and the way she had looked at him. He shook his head, telling himself to focus on the mission. This was first contact with an alien civilization, the most important moment in human history. He couldn't afford to be distracted. An hour later, Taemin stood in the main docking bay with his senior staff. Dr. Ji-won held his scanning equipment, while So-ra carried backup communication devices. Behind them stood the rest of the diplomatic team, all trying to look calm despite the historic nature of the moment. The Valerian shuttle that docked was as beautiful as their mothership, seeming to be grown rather than built. The airlock hissed open, and Queen Velthara stepped through, followed by 4 other Valerians, who were clearly her guards or advisors. In person, the Queen was even more impressive. She stood nearly 7 feet tall with skin that seemed to contain tiny stars beneath its crystal surface. Her movements were graceful and fluid, like she was floating rather than walking. But it was her eyes that captured Taemin's attention. They were kind and wise, holding depths that spoke of centuries of experience. "Commander Lee," she said, approaching him directly. "Dr. Park, thank you for welcoming us aboard your station." "The honor is entirely ours, Your Majesty," Taemin replied, offering a formal bow that he hoped was appropriate. "We've prepared our main conference room for discussions." As they walked through the station's corridors, the Queen looked around with obvious interest. "Your people build with great efficiency," she observed. "Every space serves a purpose. It speaks well of your practical nature." Dr. Ji-won beamed with pride. "Humans have always been good at making the most of what we have, Your Majesty. We've had to be resourceful to survive on our home planet." "Yes," the Queen said thoughtfully. "We have observed this about your species. It is refreshing. Many civilizations we encounter have grown soft with age and abundance, but humans still have the fire of youth." In the conference room, formal introductions were made. The Queen's advisors were introduced as Sage Kethalor, their philosopher, war leader Shandar, their military commander, and healer Yimilen, their medical expert. Each was impressive in their own way, but Taemin found his attention constantly drawn back to the Queen. "Your Majesty," Taemin began, "we're curious about your empire. Our observations suggest you control a vast region of space." Queen Velthara nodded. "The Valerian Empire spans 47 star systems, Commander. We have guided younger civilizations for over 3,000 of your years. But we do not conquer, we protect and teach." "Protect from what?" asked Sora, her curiosity overcoming protocol. "There are older, darker things in the galaxy," Sage Kethalor answered, his voice deep and serious. "Forces that would consume worlds for their resources, caring nothing for the life upon them. We have stood as a shield against such threats." The discussion continued for hours, covering trade possibilities, cultural exchange, and mutual defense agreements. Throughout it all, Taemin found himself increasingly impressed by the Queen's wisdom and compassion. She spoke of her people's responsibility to protect smaller civilizations with genuine care, and her questions about human culture showed real interest in understanding them. As the meeting drew to a close, Queen Velthara stood. "Commander Lee, Dr. Park, this has been most enlightening. We would like to invite a human delegation to visit our mothership tomorrow, so that we might share more of our respective cultures." "We would be honored," Taemin replied immediately. After the Valerians had returned to their shuttle, Dr. Jiwan approached Taemin in his quarters. "That went better than we could have hoped," he said. "They seemed genuinely peaceful." Taemin nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. "Jiwan, what did you think of the Queen?" "Impressive. Clearly highly intelligent and experienced." "Why?" Taemin turned to look out the viewport at the Valerian mothership. "I've never met anyone like her. The way she speaks, the way she cares about others. I find myself wishing I could get to know her better." Dr. Jiwan raised an eyebrow. "Taemin, she's the leader of an alien empire." "I know," Taemin said quietly. "I know it's impossible, but there's something about her." He trailed off, not wanting to voice the foolish thoughts running through his mind. Unknown to both humans, Queen Velthara stood at a viewport on her own ship, looking back at the human station. Her enhanced hearing had picked up their conversation, and a small smile played at her crystalline lips. The young commander intrigued her in ways she hadn't expected. Perhaps this meeting between their species would lead to something more than just a simple diplomatic alliance. The next morning, Taemin led a small team of humans aboard the Valerian mothership called Eternal Dawn. The interior was unlike anything they had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. Corridors curved gracefully, and everywhere they looked there was beauty combined with purpose. Dr. Park Ji-won carried his recording equipment, documenting everything for the folks back on Earth. Beside him, Dr. Jung Da-eun, their language specialist, was already taking notes on Valerian writing symbols that appeared on the walls. Choi Min-ho, their cultural expert, looked around with wide eyes trying to understand how this alien society worked. Queen Velthara met them at the docking bay, wearing robes that seemed to be made of the same glowing material as the ship itself. "Welcome to Eternal Dawn, my human friends," she said warmly. "I hope you will find your visit enlightening." "Your ship is incredible," Taemin said, looking around in wonder. "It feels more like a living thing than a machine." "In many ways, it is alive," the Queen explained as she began to lead them through the corridors. "We grow our ships rather than build them. They respond to our thoughts and needs, and they heal themselves when damaged." As they walked, other Valerians stopped to watch the human visitors. They seemed curious but not afraid, nodding respectfully to their queen and offering what appeared to be friendly gestures to the humans. "Your people seem very peaceful," observed Minho. "How do you maintain order across such a large empire?" "We do not rule through force," Queen Velthara replied. "Our society is built on mutual respect and understanding. Those who wish to harm others find no welcome among us." She led them to a vast chamber filled with what looked like crystal trees growing from the floor. The branches sparkled with different colored lights, and the air was filled with a gentle humming sound. "This is our meditation garden," the Queen explained. "Here, our people come to find peace and clarity. The crystals store the wisdom and memories of our ancestors." Diane stepped closer to one of the crystal trees, fascinated. "Are you saying these crystals contain actual memories?" "Indeed. When one of our people passes on, their knowledge and experiences become part of these living libraries. In this way, wisdom is never truly lost." Taman found himself walking beside the Queen as they continued the tour. "Your Majesty, may I ask you something personal?" "Of course, Commander. Do your people marry? Have families like humans do?" The Queen's crystalline features seemed to soften. "We do form life bonds, yes. But for Valerians, these connections are based on spiritual harmony rather than physical attraction. We believe that true partnership comes from souls that resonate at the same frequency." "That sounds beautiful," Taman said quietly. Do you have such a bond?" Queen Velthara looked at him with those deep, luminous eyes. "I have not found one whose spirit sings in harmony with mine. Perhaps I have been too focused on my duties to my people." They entered another chamber, this one containing what appeared to be a vast library. Shelves reached up to the ceiling, filled with crystal tablets and glowing scrolls. Holographic displays showed star maps and historical records. "These are the chronicles of 47 civilizations," the Queen said proudly. "We preserve the history and culture of every species we have encountered, so that their achievements will not be forgotten." Jiwan was examining one of the crystal tablets with his scanner. "Remarkable. The information density is incredible. One of these tablets could hold our entire internet." "Knowledge is the greatest treasure," Sage Kethalor said, approaching the group. "Your species shows great promise in this regard. Your scientists think in ways that even surprise us." Meanwhile, back on the human station, Han Jae-sung was having a very different conversation with Yoon Hye-jin, their chief engineer. "I don't trust them," he said bluntly. "No species becomes this powerful without conquest. They're hiding something." Hye-jin looked up from the energy readings she was studying. "Their technology is certainly advanced, but I haven't detected any weapon signatures on their ship." "Maybe their weapons are so advanced we can't detect them," Jae-sung replied grimly. "I think we should be preparing defenses just in case." Back on the Valerian ship, Queen Velthara was showing the humans to their guest quarters. The rooms were beautiful, with walls that could become transparent to show the stars outside, or opaque for privacy. "We hope you will be comfortable," she said. "Please, explore the ship freely. Our people are eager to learn about human culture as well." That evening, there was a formal dinner in the ship's great hall. Long tables made of the same living crystal as the ship were set with foods from both cultures. The humans had brought samples of Earth cuisine, while the Valerians offered dishes made from ingredients that grew in space. "This is amazing," Sorai said, tasting something that looked like fruit but sparkled with its own light. "It tastes like starlight." Queen Velthara smiled. "That is exactly what we call it. Starfruit grows only in the void between worlds, drawing energy directly from stellar radiation." As the evening progressed, Taman found himself drawn into deeper conversation with the Queen. She asked thoughtful questions about human history, about their struggles and achievements. She seemed particularly interested in how humans had overcome their differences to unite as one species. "Your people fascinate me, Commander," she said as they stood on a balcony overlooking the ship's central garden. "In so short a time, you have gone from warring tribes to space travelers. Most species take millennia to achieve such unity." "We're still learning," Taman admitted. "We make mistakes. Sometimes we still fight among ourselves, but we're trying to do better. That desire to improve, to grow beyond your limitations, that is what makes humans special," the Queen said. "Many older civilizations become stagnant, satisfied with what they have achieved. But humans, you always reach for more." There was something in her voice, a warmth that made Taman's heart beat faster. "Your Majesty, may I say something?" "Always, Commander. I've never met anyone like you. Your wisdom, your compassion." Spending time with you makes me want to be a better person." The queen turned to look at him, her crystalline features catching the light from the garden below. "You honor me with such words. I must confess I have found our conversations equally enlightening. Your honesty and determination are rare qualities." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, looking out at the stars. Neither spoke the words that were in their hearts, the growing attraction that seemed impossible given their different species. But both felt it, a connection that went beyond the diplomatic mission that had brought them together. Later that night, as the humans settled into their guest quarters, Tae-min couldn't stop thinking about the queen. The way she spoke about her responsibilities to her people reminded him of his own duties to humanity. But more than that, there was something about her that made him feel complete in a way he had never experienced before. In her own chambers, Queen Velthara stood before a window showing the vast expanse of space. She found herself thinking about the human commander, his earnest questions and genuine concern for others. There was a strength in him that had nothing to do with physical power, and a kindness that touched something deep in her ancient heart. For the first time in her long life, she wondered what it might be like to have a true partner, someone who could share not just her duties but her dreams. The thought should have seemed impossible. She was queen of a vast empire, and he was from a species they had just met. But somehow, when she looked into his eyes, such differences seemed small compared to the connection she felt growing between them. 3 days had passed since the humans first boarded the Valerian mothership. The cultural exchange was going better than anyone had hoped. Scientists from both species were sharing knowledge, while diplomats worked on formal treaties. But for Tae-min, the most important moments were the quiet conversations he shared with Queen Velthara. He had taken to walking through the ship's corridors late at night, when most of the crew was resting. The Valerians needed less sleep than humans, but they had their own quiet periods for meditation and reflection. During these walks, he often encountered the queen, who seemed to enjoy these peaceful hours as well. Tonight was different. Tae-min made his way to the observation deck on the ship's upper level. It was a circular room with transparent walls that offered a perfect view of the nebula they were currently passing through. The colors were incredible, swirls of pink, purple, and gold gas clouds that sparkled with newborn stars. He thought he was alone as he stood looking out at the cosmic beauty before him. His mind was full of thoughts about the queen, about the impossible feelings that had been growing in his heart over the past few days. She was everything he had ever dreamed of in a partner, intelligent, kind, strong, and beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with physical appearance. "I wish I could marry her," he whispered to himself, not meaning for anyone to hear. The words came from his heart, expressing a longing he knew could never be fulfilled. She was a queen, the ruler of an ancient empire. He was just a human commander from a young species that had barely learned to travel between stars. "My answer is yes." Tae-min spun around, his heart racing. Queen Velthara stepped out from behind one of the observation deck's crystal pillars, her bioluminescent markings glowing softly in the dim light. She had been there all along and he hadn't seen her. "Your Majesty, I didn't know you were there," he stammered, his face burning with embarrassment. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean—" "Commander," she said gently, moving closer to him, "please do not apologize for speaking from your heart. It is a beautiful thing to hear such honesty." "But I had no right to say such things," Tae-min protested. "You're a queen, and I'm just—" "You are a man of honor and courage," she interrupted. "Your species, your rank. These things matter far less than the content of your character. And your character, Commander Lee Tae-min, shines brighter than many stars I have known." Tae-min stared at her, hardly believing what he was hearing. "Are you saying— do you mean—" "I have lived for over 3 centuries, Queen Velthara said, her voice soft but clear. "In all that time, I have never met anyone who made me feel the way you do. When I am with you, I feel not like a queen with duties and responsibilities, but like a woman who has found someone who understands her heart." Just then, Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside the observation deck. Dr. Shin, Bo-Ra, the mission's psychologist, appeared in the doorway along with Lee Kyung-soo, one of their diplomatic aides. They had been looking for Taiman to discuss some details about tomorrow's meetings, but they stopped short when they saw the Queen and Commander standing close together, clearly in the middle of an intimate conversation. "Oh," Bo-Ra said, her eyes widening as she realized what she had walked into. "We're sorry. We didn't mean to interrupt." "It's all right," Queen Velthera said calmly. "Please come in. What Commander Lee and I have been discussing will affect all of our peoples, so it is right that others should know." Kyung-soo looked confused. "Your Majesty?" Taemin took a deep breath, knowing there was no going back now. "The Queen and I, we have feelings for each other. I know it sounds impossible, but—" "Not impossible," Queen Velthara corrected gently. "Unprecedented, yes, but not impossible. Our laws do not forbid such unions, though none have ever occurred in our history." Bo-Ra, ever the psychologist, stepped forward with professional curiosity. "The psychological implications would be fascinating. But Your Majesty, surely there would be biological barriers." "There are challenges," the Queen admitted. "A union between our species would require what we call the trial of souls, a deep psychic bonding that would allow us to truly understand each other's minds and hearts. It is not without risk." "What kind of risk?" Taemin asked, concern clear in his voice. Queen Velthara's expression grew serious. "If our spirits are not truly compatible, the bonding process could damage both of our minds permanently. In the worst cases, it has been known to cause death." Kyung-soo looked alarmed. "Your Majesty, surely such a risk is not worth taking for—" "For love?" the Queen asked. "Young human, I have lived long enough to know that true love is the rarest treasure in the universe. It is worth any risk." Taemin reached out and gently took her hand. Her skin felt warm despite its crystalline appearance, and he could feel a slight tingling sensation, as if energy was passing between them. "I would face any trial to be with you," he said simply. "If you're willing to take that risk, then so am I." "But we should think about this carefully," Bo-Ra interjected. "The political implications alone are staggering. A marriage between a human commander and the Valerian Queen would change everything between our species. Perhaps that is exactly what both our peoples need," Queen Velthera said thoughtfully. "For too long, different species have remained separate, trading and forming alliances but never truly uniting. What if we could show the galaxy that such barriers can be overcome?" Over the next hour, they discussed the incredible situation. The Queen explained more about Valerian bonding rituals while Taimin talked about his willingness to undergo whatever changes might be necessary. Bo-Ra and Kyung-soo asked practical questions about how such a union would work politically and socially. "The trial of souls requires preparation," Queen Velthera explained. "Commander Lee would need to undergo genetic modification to survive the psychic connection. The process takes several days and is uncomfortable. And I would need to open my mind completely, which leaves me vulnerable in ways that could be dangerous for a ruler." "What do you mean by genetic modification?" Taemin asked. "Humans are not naturally telepathic. To bond with me, your brain structure would need to be altered to handle psychic energy. The changes would be permanent. You would gain limited telepathic abilities and a greatly extended lifespan, but you would no longer be entirely human." Taemin considered this. "I would be willing to make such changes. But what about you? What risks would you face?" "During the bonding, I must lower all my mental defenses. If something went wrong, I could be left without the psychic shields that protect my mind. For a Valerian ruler, this could mean madness or death." The weight of what they were contemplating settled over the group. This wasn't just about two people falling in love. It was about the future relationship between their species, and the personal risks were enormous. "I need to contact Earth Command," Kyung-soo said finally. "They need to know about this development." "And I must speak with my advisors," the Queen agreed. "This decision affects not just us, but millions of beings across both our civilizations." As they prepared to leave the observation deck, Taimin and Queen Velthara found themselves alone again for a moment. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, quietly. "I don't want you to risk everything for me." She smiled, her crystalline features glowing with inner light. "Commander, Tai Min, in all my long life, I have never been more certain of anything. You are my heart's choice, and I am willing to face any trial to be with you." He leaned forward and gently pressed his forehead against hers, a gesture of intimacy that felt right despite their different species. In that moment, both of them knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The news of Commander Lee Taemin's proposed union with Queen Velthara spread quickly through both human and Valerian crews. Reactions were mixed, ranging from excitement to concern to outright skepticism. Dr. Park Sejun, one of the human mission's senior scientists, was among the most vocal critics. "This is madness," he said during an emergency meeting in the station's conference room. "The biological incompatibilities alone make this impossible. We're talking about two completely different species." "With respect, Dr. Park," replied Dr. Kim Ye-won, the mission's philosopher, "history is full of things that seemed impossible until someone proved otherwise. Perhaps this union represents the next step in the evolution of both our species." Back on the Valerian mothership, similar debates were taking place. War leader Shandar paced the council chamber, his crystalline armor reflecting his agitation. "My queen, I have served your family for 2 centuries. I have seen the rise and fall of empires. This human is from a species we met mere days ago. How can you be certain of his intentions?" Queen Velthara remained calm in the face of her advisor's concerns. "Shandar, my old friend, I have opened my mind to his thoughts during our conversations. There is no deception in him, no hidden agenda. He offers only love and partnership." Healer Yimelin, the Valerian medical expert, had been working with Dr. Oh Dong-hyuk, the human medical officer, to prepare for the genetic modifications Taemin would need to undergo. The process was complex and dangerous. "The human brain is not designed to handle psychic energy," Yimelin explained to the assembled council. "We must carefully alter his neural pathways to create the connections needed for the soul bond. One mistake could leave him brain damaged or worse." Oh Dong-hyuk nodded grimly. "I've reviewed the Valerian medical data. The procedure will be extremely painful for Commander Lee, and there's a 15% chance of permanent neurological damage." "And what of the risks to our queen?" asked Sage Kethalor. "During the bonding ceremony, Her Majesty must lower all mental barriers," Yimelin replied. "If the commander's modified mind cannot properly connect with hers, the psychic feedback could shatter her consciousness. The risk of death is significant." Meanwhile, back on Harmony the 7th, Nam Soo-jin, the communications officer, was coordinating with Earth Command. The response from home was predictably chaotic. "They want to know everything," Soo-jin reported to the senior staff. "The politicians are having fits, the scientists are demanding more data, and the military is asking about potential security implications." "What's the official position?" asked Han Jae-sung, the military advisor who had been suspicious of the Valerians from the beginning. "Mixed signals," Soo-jin replied. "Some see this as an incredible opportunity to cement our alliance with a powerful alien civilization. Others think it's too dangerous and want to recall the mission immediately." Despite the concerns and debates, both Taemin and Queen Velthara remained committed to their course. The preparations began in earnest, with the sacred chamber aboard, the Valerian mothership being prepared for the ceremony. The sacred chamber was unlike anything the humans had seen before. Located at the very heart of the ship, it was a spherical room with walls made of pure crystal that seemed to pulse with inner life. Ancient symbols covered every surface, glowing softly with colors that had no names in human language. "This chamber has been used for bonding ceremonies for 3,000 years, Queen Velthara explained to Taemin as they stood at its entrance. "The crystals store the psychic energy of every couple who has ever bonded here. Their love and commitment will help guide us through the trial." The genetic modification process began the next day. Taemin lay on a biobed in the Valerian medical bay, while Dr. O worked alongside healer Yimelin to carefully alter his brain structure. The process involved microscopic nanobots that would rebuild his neural pathways over the course of several days. The pain was incredible. Taemin felt like his skull was being split open and rebuilt from the inside, but he endured it, knowing that this was necessary to be with the woman he loved. Queen Velthara stayed by his side whenever her duties allowed, holding his hand and sharing her strength through their growing connection. "I can feel your mind changing," she told him during one of his brief periods of consciousness. "You're becoming something new, something beautiful." Dr. Moon Hanul, a specialist in consciousness research who had been brought in from Earth, monitored Taemin's progress with fascination. "This is remarkable," she said to her colleagues. "His brain is adapting to handle psychic energy in ways we never thought possible. If this works, it could revolutionize our understanding of human consciousness." On the third day of modifications, complications arose. Taemin's human immune system began rejecting the changes, and his vital signs became dangerously unstable. "We're losing him," Oh Dong-hyuk said, his voice tight with concern. "His body is fighting the modifications too strongly." Queen Velthara made a decision that shocked everyone. She placed her hands on Taemin's temples and began sharing her own psychic energy with him, helping his body accept the changes. The effort was enormous and dangerous for her, but she refused to let him die. "Your Majesty, you're risking your own life," Yimelin warned. "His life is worth that risk," the Queen replied firmly, her own crystalline skin beginning to pale from the effort. Slowly, Taemin's condition stabilized. The modifications were successful, but the ordeal had weakened both him and the Queen. They needed time to recover before attempting the actual bonding ceremony. During his recovery, Taemin discovered he could now sense thoughts and emotions from those around him. The sensation was overwhelming at first, but Queen Velthara helped him learn to control his new abilities. "Think of it like learning to see," she explained as they sat together in her private garden. "At first, all the light and color is confusing, but gradually you learn to focus, to understand what you're perceiving." Captain Ryu Ji-hoon, who had arrived from Earth to witness the historic ceremony, found himself amazed by the changes in his former colleague. "You seem different, Taemin. More aware somehow." "I can feel things I never felt before," Taemin explained. "The emotions of people around me, the life force in the ship's crystal walls, even the stellar winds outside. It's like I was blind. Before and now I can see." The day of the Trial of Souls arrived. Both human and Valerian crews gathered in the area surrounding the sacred chamber, though only a few were allowed inside for the actual ceremony. Queen Velthara appeared in robes of pure white crystal that seemed to contain captured starlight. Taemin wore simple clothes, knowing that material possessions meant nothing in the trial ahead. Sage Kethalor officiated the ceremony, his ancient voice carrying the weight of millennia of tradition. "Today we witness something that has never before occurred in the history of either species. Two beings from different worlds seek to join their souls as one. The trial ahead will test not just their compatibility, but their commitment to each other and to the greater good of both their peoples." The Queen and Taemin stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by the glowing crystals that held the psychic imprints of countless bonded couples. As the ceremony began, both felt the presence of those who had come before, offering their support and guidance. "Are you ready?" Queen Velthara asked, taking Taemin's hands in hers. "With you, I'm ready for anything," he replied. Together, they opened their minds to each other completely, beginning the most dangerous and beautiful journey of their lives. The psychic energy in the chamber began to build, and the crystals around them pulsed with increasing intensity as two souls prepared to become one. 6 months had passed since the Trial of Souls, and the galaxy had never been the same. The union of Commander Lee Taemin and Queen Arya Velthara had created ripples across dozens of star systems, changing the way entire civilizations viewed the possibilities of cooperation between different species. The bonding ceremony had been successful, but not without its challenges. During the psychic connection, Both Timon and Velthara had experienced shared visions of possible futures. Some showed their two species working together to explore new worlds and share knowledge. Others showed devastating wars that could tear apart both civilizations if fear and mistrust were allowed to grow. But they had chosen their path together, and the bond between them had created something unprecedented, a consciousness that bridged both human and Valerian thought patterns. Timon could now live for centuries like his wife, while she had gained human intuition and emotional depth that enhanced her already considerable wisdom. The joint colony ship New Harmony hung in space between Earth and the Valerian homeworld, a symbol of the new alliance. The massive vessel had been built using both human engineering and Valerian biocrystal technology, creating something that was stronger and more beautiful than either species could have achieved alone. Captain Ryu, Ji-hoon stood on the bridge of New Harmony, watching a fleet of mixed human and Valerian ships conduct joint training exercises. The sight still amazed him. Vessels from both civilizations moving in perfect coordination, their crews working together as if they had been allies for generations rather than months. "Status report, Captain," came a voice from behind him. Ji-hoon turned to see Timon approaching, though his old friend looked quite different now. The genetic modifications had given him an otherworldly quality. His eyes held depths that seemed to reflect starlight, and there was a presence about him that spoke of wisdom beyond his years. "All ships are performing beautifully," Ji-hoon reported. "The Valerian biocrystal hulls are adapting to human weapon systems better than our engineers expected, and our crews are learning to work with Valerian telepathic coordination faster than anyone thought possible." Dr. Moon Ha-Newell, who had become the leading expert on human Valerian consciousness research, joined them on the bridge. She had been studying the effects of the soul bond on both Timon and Queen Velthara, documenting changes that were revolutionizing their understanding of consciousness itself. "The latest brain scans are fascinating," she told them. "The bond has created new neural pathways in both your minds. You're literally thinking in ways that neither humans nor Valerians have ever thought before." This new form of consciousness had practical benefits beyond the personal. Timon and Velthara could coordinate strategies and share information instantaneously across vast distances. When human tactical thinking combined with Valerian ancient wisdom, the results were formidable. They would need those advantages soon. Long-range sensors had detected a massive fleet approaching from the outer rim, ships belonging to the hegemony, a militaristic alliance of species that viewed the human-Valerian partnership as a threat to galactic stability. "Hegemony Warfleet bearing 27 Mark IV, reported Lieutenant Nam Soo-jin from the communication station. 300 ships, including their flagship Dominion." General Bae Woo-jin, who commanded the Joint Defense Forces, studied the tactical display with grim concentration. "They outnumber us 3-1, he said. "Even with our new hybrid technology, those aren't good odds." "Numbers are not everything," came a melodious voice from the bridge entrance. Queen Velthara glided onto the bridge, her crystalline robes shimmering with inner light. The Valerian war sage Threnodar accompanied her, his ancient eyes holding the wisdom of countless battles. "My queen," Ji-hoon said respectfully, "we're honored by your presence." Velthara moved to stand beside her husband, and everyone on the bridge could feel the power of their connection. When they were together, the air itself seemed to hum with energy. "The hegemony makes a mistake," she said, her voice carrying absolute confidence. "They see our alliance as weakness, thinking that cooperation makes us soft. They do not understand that unity multiplies strength rather than dividing it." Threnodar nodded agreement. "I have fought the hegemony before in the old wars. They are formidable individually, but they do not trust each other. Each ship fights for its own survival. Our crews fight as one mind. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations." As the hegemony fleet approached, the human Valerian forces arranged themselves in formations that had never been seen before, patterns that combined human tactical flexibility with Valerian harmony and flow. Timon and Velthara stood together. On New Harmony's command deck, their minds linked not just to each other but to every ship in their fleet. Through their bond, they could coordinate hundreds of vessels as if they were extensions of their own bodies. Hegemony flagship is hailing us, reported Sujin. Put them through, Taemin ordered. The main screen showed a reptilian being with scales that gleamed like metal and eyes that burned with cold intelligence. This was Supreme Commander Vextar, leader of the Hegemony forces. Human Commander, Vextar hissed. You have corrupted the natural order by mixing your species with the Valerians. This abomination will not be tolerated. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Commander Vextar, Velthura replied before Taemin could speak. We offer you the same choice we offer all beings. Join us in building a better galaxy, or step aside and let others do so. We will not surrender, and we will not be intimidated. Vexitar's eyes narrowed. Then you will die as fools. Attack. The battle was fierce but brief. The Hegemony ships fought with brutal efficiency, but they had never faced an enemy like the Human-Valerian alliance. Every move they made was anticipated. Every strategy countered before it could develop. Human ships would dart in with their superior speed and maneuverability, striking hard before falling back to let Valerian vessels finish the job with their devastating energy weapons. The biocrystal hulls adapted to incoming fire, becoming stronger with each hit they absorbed, but the real advantage was coordination. Through Taemin and Velthara's bond, the entire fleet moved like a single organism. Ships that had never flown together before worked in perfect harmony, covering each other's weaknesses and amplifying each other's strengths. Hegemony forces are retreating, reported the tactical officer. They've lost over half their fleet. On the screen, Supreme Commander Vexitar's reptilian features showed shock and something that might have been respect. This is impossible, he said. How did you coordinate such precision across so many ships? Love, Velthara said simply. Something your hegemony has forgotten in its pursuit of power. After the battle, news of the victory spread quickly across the galaxy. Other species that had been watching the Human-Valerian alliance with uncertainty began to reconsider their positions. The peaceful Etherians sent diplomatic missions expressing interest in similar partnerships. Even some former hegemony member worlds began to rebel against their militaristic overlords. 3 months later, Taemin and Velthara stood together on the observation deck of New Harmony, looking out at the most diverse fleet the galaxy had ever seen. Human vessels flew alongside Valerian bioships, Etherian crystal spheres, and vessels from a dozen other species that had joined what was being called the Galactic Harmony Council. Do you ever regret it? Taemin asked his wife. Giving up your old life to build this new one? Velthara smiled, her crystalline features glowing with inner light. How can I regret finding my heart's true home? Besides, I did not give up my old life. I transformed it into something greater. She was right. The Council was not just a military alliance but a new way of organizing galactic civilization. Species that had been enemies for millennia were learning to work together. Trade flowed freely, knowledge was shared openly, and conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than warfare. Dr. Ye-Wan, who had become the Council's chief philosopher, often spoke about how the union of Taemin and Velthara had proven that differences in biology need not mean differences in spirit. Their love had become a symbol of what was possible when beings chose cooperation over conflict. The galaxy is vast, Velthara continued, taking her husband's hand. There are countless worlds we have never seen, civilizations we have never met. Think of all the wonders we will discover together. Taemin squeezed her hand gently, feeling through their bond the depth of her love and the strength of her commitment to their shared vision. Whatever we find out there, we'll face it together. As they watched, a new ship approached the fleet, a sleek vessel from a previously unknown species that had heard about the Council and wanted to join. It was a sight that had become common over the past few months, as word spread across the galaxy about a new way of living among the stars. The ship that had begun with a whispered wish in an observation deck had become something neither of them could have imagined. Their love had not just bridged the gap between two species, it had opened a path to a future where all beings could work together as one. In the months and years that followed, the Galactic Harmony Council would face many challenges. There would be species that rejected their message of cooperation, natural disasters that required coordinated,